To order, please, would you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you just remain standing for a moment, Reverend William Crothers will give our invocation tonight.
Let us pray. Father, we enter into your presence this evening, and we would ask for your gracious blessings, first upon this council as they endeavor to lead, and the mayor as he leads with them. We also think today and tonight of those that serve in the capacity of police officers and firemen. We would ask that you just protect them and look after their families while they're in the service that they perform that's often very dangerous. We look for your grace and mercies upon them. Be with the citizens of this community. Allow them to be blessed by you. We ask what we do in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. The clerk take the roll, please.
Councilman Templin. Here. Councilman Cisco.
Present.
Councilman DeGiulio.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavarecki.
Present.
Councilman Rourke. Here. Pro Tem McLeod.
Here.
Treasurer Armstrong.
Here.
And Mayor Mategas.
Present.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. I have a motion for approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting, January 26th.
Motion. Support.
Moved by Councilman Rourke. Second, I'm sorry, down to the right here.
Mr. Templin, I think, or was you here? I don't know.
Chair Templin.
Oh, it's Mr. Templin then, because my lips were sealed.
Are there any additions, corrections, changes?
Yes, I'd like to take claims and accounts off.
Under the consent agenda, without exception, we will remove claims and accounts and take that as a separate item. Hearing no objection, no changes. Other than that, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 12th.
Motion.
Support Councilwoman Gavarecki, supported by Councilman Cisco. Is there any corrections, additions, deletions, changes? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. There are no awards, presentations, or proclamations this evening. We do have a public hearing, and I'm opening the meeting for the public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant Program Year 2016. Before the citizens come forward, I'll have City Administrator read the resolution and the allocation of funds.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. At the January 12th, 2016 Allen Park City Council meeting, the Mayor and Council scheduled the first of two Community Development Block Grant public hearings, the first being tonight, January 26, 2016. The Mayor and Council is requested to conduct the public hearing to receive comment on the objectives and possible uses for developing projects or suggestions for other projects using CDBG Program Year 2016 funding. The potential projects reflect an estimated allocation for 2016 of $151,000, as well as an estimated $3,000 in Community Development Block Grant Program income. The proposed projects include public improvements, $105,900, public senior services, $10,000, administration, $15,100, housing rehabilitation, $20,000, housing rehabilitation program income, $1,000, demolition program income, $1,000, public improvements program income, $1,000. We've added the housing rehabilitation program income, demolition program income, and public improvements program income to the public hearing for the purpose that we would, if additional funds come in and we want to fund one of those projects, we will not have to go through another public hearing, so it'll actually make the time frame a little bit quicker. When you do get the the program income dollars coming in, sometimes they are need to be fast-tracked into a project so we can get them spent quickly. The areas that are eligible for block grant, community development block grant, are basically the residential area south of Moran, east of Goddard, and west of Ford Line in the far south end of the community, and also from Lawrence College Avenue to Lawrence, Hanover, Roger, Hanover to Southfield, Hanover, or Southfield and Roger, and along the Lincoln Park border to the far east. Those are the only 2 eligible areas for block grant for program year 2016.
Thank you, Mr. Kibbe. Do citizens want to come forward and comment on the block grant allocations or program this year?
Marcy DiGiulio, Allen Road. Mr. Kibbe, what exactly are those? You know, you're giving me a general, but what is it?
For what the allocations would be for?
Yeah.
At this point in time, we don't have any specific projects. That's what the purpose of tonight's meeting is, to kind of gather from the public of what they would like to see.
Are we televising?
Currently not now. It is being recorded, though.
Okay, because you need to get that out on the TV because
This is advertised in the News Herald, and it'll be advertised one more time. There'll be another public hearing on February 9th.
Because, you know, I don't think people understand block grant. You know, that seniors or low-income people, they can get a furnace, they can get a roof, and they, or whatever home improvement they need, you know, they need not go without. And that block grant will give them the money, and they don't pay any interest on that loan until the house is sold. So if it's a senior and, you know, they could upkeep their house.
Currently, we do not have any funding available through the Housing Rehab Program. For the 2015 allocation was already spent. So this money would come available July 1 of 2016. At that point in time, we absolutely can advertise that the money is available to those in need.
Okay, you know, I just want to make sure that money is going for what it was intended for.
Yep. Let's wait and see if we can finish the public hearing, and then we'll take the council's comments. One more hearing beside this.
Yeah, there'll be another hearing. We're required,
2 hearings.
2 hearings are required. The second hearing, again, will be Tuesday, February 9th, also part of the city council meeting.
There are no other citizens coming forward to comment. We will close the public hearing for tonight. Again, February 9th will be a second hearing. And I'll take just questions from the council before we move on. Mayor Pro Tem.
With grants, there's a process. First you apply, and you have to specify, is that correct?
Yeah. The way that the Community Development Block Grant Program works for Wayne County at this point in time, actually, I was at a meeting, they're going to be changing it, so this is the final year of this process. The city gets an allocation, in this situation, it's $151,000. It's based on need, citizens in the community. There's a formula that it's driven by to get to the $151,000. And then we do an application to Wayne County telling them the projects we're going to be spending the money on. We are limited to 3 projects. So our projects would be public improvements, which in the past has been street repairs in the various areas that are eligible. Sometimes it's included park projects. There are no eligible parks in this area, unfortunately. Public and Senior Services in the past has dealt with funding for the Senior Alliance and funding for the Guidance Center, and then Housing Rehabilitation has been a program. Unfortunately, I can remember back in the late 90s, we were getting $50,000, and now we're down to taking money out of our extra allocation for that program.
Can I ask further on that, link to that? There is a process with the grants, and do we receive all the money up front, and or when it's spent? I mean, as far as the spending, we have to account for it.
Yeah, it's a reimbursement-based program.
Okay, so we spend it on what we say we're going to spend it on, and then we send in the bills and they give it.
Correct.
Okay. So it's like we're fronting the money for them.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilman DiGiulio.
Okay, now, there is income limits, correct?
For there's some income limits for the housing rehabilitation program. I'm not as well versed in the housing rehab program as I am the regular allocation portion of the program. But a single is roughly $39,000 to qualify. It's 80% of the median income of the county, so it is a fair amount.
Okay, and then it's repaid when the property sells?
Yeah, so if the qualified individual goes through, if it's a furnace, let's say the furnace is $3,000 or a roof is $3,000, we place the lien on the property. It is interest-free, it is payable when the house is sold or some other change triggers the potential sale of the property. Unfortunately, sometimes we're dealing with older individuals and older residents. Death is usually the trigger point at that point.
Okay, no, I know this is a pretty common thing anymore the last 5 or 6 years, but what happens if there's a bankruptcy?
Unfortunately, if there is a bankruptcy, in some of those cases, we will lose the lien altogether.
So it's never repaid in that case?
Yeah, unfortunately not.
So what happens to the house? In other words, it goes into the bankruptcy, it's just lost in
Yeah,
the shuffle?
usually at that point in time, it's gone through some sort of like maybe a sheriff's sale, and it'll be wiped out through the bankruptcy process.
Thank you very much, sir.
We
Mr. Kibbe.
do have, I'd venture to say, we probably have outstanding liens, probably $250,000 in outstanding liens still on the books.
Have we had that happen yet, where a bankruptcy washed away for Allen Park?
Not in the last year or so, but we have had it in the
We
past.
have in the past? Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments by council? Hearing none, we'll go on to organizational business, and the city administrator, Mr. Kibbe, would you give your updates, reports, please?
Just a half dozen or so updates here I got for the mayor and council and the public. The Receivership Transition Advisory Board, the RTAB meeting scheduled for February 3rd has been canceled. They'll be reconvening on March 2nd, Wednesday, March 2nd. Liquiforce is still conducting the sewer rehabilitation of stormline work in the following areas: west side of Allen from Wick to Moore, east side of Roger from College to O'Connor, perimeter from South Moore to Rose, from Park to Reek. So they should be finishing that project up here. I'm going to guess probably another week or week and a half or so. And that is the sewer lining that was part of the SAW grant that the city received from the MDEQ. The water has been disconnected at the old city hall, and the DT electrical and gas disconnects have also been scheduled. The library director reported that the brine spray that's being used in the library parking lot has worked out very well. They're noticing that the method leaves no tracking of salt into the library, which has been a real key factor for cleaning the floors. I'm going to steal a little thunder here from both the clerk and the treasurer. The clerk's office has been busy preparing for the March 8th presidential primary, and I imagine he'll have some additional information on that. And the office, the treasurer's office has been busy with residents coming to pay their taxes. As you'll note, Bob Katie is on vacation until through next Tuesday, and then both Bob and I will be up in Port Huron next Wednesday and Thursday for the Michigan Local Government Management Association Winter Institute. That is in both days, all-day events up in Port Huron. We are going to be driving up and back. So if you do need to reach us, feel free to give us a call or send us an email. We'll still be readily available. And based on the last study session, I tentatively scheduled a work session again with French and Associates for Tuesday, February 2nd. And I put here if the mayor and council are able to attend. So I asked that, and then let me know if mayor and council are able to attend. I'll go ahead and confirm that with French and Associates for next Tuesday, February 2nd at 6 o'clock. And they were the company involved with the design plans for the City Hall projects that have been numerous throughout the years. And that is all I have this evening.
Okay, could I have a motion to accept and file the updates reports?
Motion there, Mayor.
Moved by Councilman DiGiulio, supported by Mayor Pro Tem McLeod. Are there any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried, thank you. The public comments, before we go to the citizens coming forward, let me just go through our rules of decorum for our public meetings. An individual may only speak on an issue after the individual has been recognized by the chairperson. Comments from the floor shall be made at the podium at the front of the council table or at such other area as designated by the chairperson. Prior to an individual speaking from the floor, the individual shall identify themselves and state their street address for the record. All comments shall be directed only to the chairperson. Speakers are not to address other members of the council or members of the audience. Each member of the public may speak for up to 4 minutes. All written statements should be given to the city clerk prior to the meeting so that copies may be made available to the members of the public body. No individual shall be allowed to make any defamatory attack or invasion of another individual's personal life. There shall be no questions, comments, discussion, or attacks regarding anybody's personal life. The chairpersons shall immediately rule out of order any person who begins to bring up such issues. If the chairperson does not do so, any member of the council may, by calling a point of order, request the chairperson to rule the offending party out of order. If the chairperson does not so rule the offending party out of order, any council may call appeal of the decision of the chairperson. If the chairperson's decision is overturned, the offending party shall be deemed as being out of order. If the person making the comments is allowed to continue, the person who is being challenged or whom the comments are made against shall be entitled to make an immediate rebuttal statement. For purposes of these rules as they relate to elected officials or city officials, the term personal life shall refer to anything other than that which is said or done in the person's official capacity as an elected official or in the person's official city capacity. Any and all comments that are ruled out of order shall be stricken and/or redacted from any and all records or recordings of the meeting. Member of the public body may question the speakers, but members of the public body are not obligated to answer any questions or any statements on the issues raised or discussed by the speakers. Issues may be referred to an appropriate body, department, or individual for investigation and review. No person or group shall be allowed to disrupt the meetings or proceedings. Any individual who fails to comply with these rules after having first been warned by the chairperson to cease such actions shall be ordered by the chairperson to leave and/or be ejected from the meeting. With that, would citizens come forward to comment?
Good evening, Russell Pillar, Arlington Avenue and the Kennedy sub of Allen Park. I just have some brief questions. One is in regards to the why hasn't or aren't the council meetings no longer on cable TV. I had to call WOW cable to my home and I was given the reason, and I just would like to see it's whether or not it's the same reason that you're about to provide.
Well, there are two things. When we had the sale at the old building of a lot of the extraneous materials that were not transferred over here, somebody took part of the old cable materials. They were taken. Can't explain it, but they're missing. And as part of that, that disrupted. We're also trying to go to the new fiber optics to go to the cell tower, and the companies just haven't gotten it done. I just talked with our deputy clerk who's been following with Comcast, and of course they've changed the head of Comcast. Mr. Eaton is no longer there. He's retired. I didn't even know who the new president of Comcast here in Southeast Michigan is to try and call them. So we've been dealing with their technical people, and we just aren't able to get them to come forward. I don't think because it's a nonprofit situation for them, it's probably the highest thing on their priority to get up for.
All right. Another thing, I saw the city trucks going around in the Kennedy sub patching some of the potholes that are on Laramie and over there, and they seemed to have stopped at the corner of Euclid and Laramie, going north from there, where the road was the worst of all. And I see the city riding around over there in the Kennedy sub with the cold patches and a shovel, but I don't see them getting out of the truck any longer to do anything. I'd like to see them back in the area and fix the ones that really needed to be fixed instead of the superficial ones. Lastly, well, not lastly, I also live 2 doors away from Kennedy Park, which is adjacent to Rogers School. And daily, I see people bring their dogs, and yesterday there was a person that brought 5 dogs. Now, they get to the park and they unleash these dogs and they run free, and it's during school hours and some of the times when the kids are on recess. Now, the dogs do their business, but these people, many, many times, never pick up their dog waste. And there are no sidewalk on that side of the street to go to the school. And sometimes the kids cross over to the park side and they walk through the grass to get to the school. And I wouldn't doubt that they have some residue left on their shoes by the time they get to school. And I think during school hours, you either have the ordinance warden or a police car of some type come by and inform those people that the dogs have to be leashed and they have to pick up after their dogs. And lastly, during your administration, 2 millages were passed. One was for police and one was for streets. But there was no mention during those times that you were advocating or asking the people's help to vote on those matters. Did you indicate that there was going to be a 14% per year for the next 5-year raise on the water bills? Now, I think as a citizen that I would have liked to have known that before I made my vote at the polls. And I think it was a ploy to deceive the electorate and the citizens of Allen Park, not telling them what your future plans were for our, to get more money from the citizens. Thank you.
Mr. Pillars, just for your information, though, we did have 2 meetings here where we discussed the water and sewer rates and the necessity for the raises that were there. And so it was stated publicly, and they were on the...
Yeah, but most people didn't see or hear about it because the cable wasn't broadcasting the council meetings at that time, and still aren't. So
No, the cable was broadcast at that time. This was done back in the September, October area in November. We had those meetings.
over in the Kennedy sub, it hasn't been broadcast over there for at least 6 months.
Well, that I wasn't aware of.
Through the chair, Mayor, I would like to point out that every single meeting is posted on YouTube. So I know people like the convenience of their television. However, even if you're in Malta or Scotland or somewhere, you could log online and watch our council meetings. So we are trying to work on getting it back up. I'm not a tech guy. I think the mayor explained it. But again, I just want to push YouTube. So if people really want to see, go to YouTube. It's on the World Wide Web. So thank you, Mayor.
There's a lot of the voters that don't have computers. I mean, I do, but there's a lot that don't, so they're not aware of what's really going on in the city. Thank you.
Mayor,
Yep, Councilman Cisco.
just also state that you can go to the Allen Park Public Library, and they have the disc there, and you can view them on their equipment, all the meetings. I was informed by Mr. Gross today that all the meetings are over there. So I'd just like to state that also.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Hayes. I live on Manor Avenue, 9965 Allen Park. I wanted to ask if I haven't seen any closed sessions posted anywhere in the last couple months. I'm aware, or I'm given to believe, let's put it that way, that there is a pressing matter in our police department having to do with the human resources issue. I don't know if it's hostile work environment, if it's sexual harassment, it's some kind of fairly major issue pending. And I want to know if this council is aware of this, and if so, I mean, we don't expect you to detail it here. We understand people have the right to privacy, but we have a bad history in our police department. We had a several $million judgment a number of years ago that had to do with a personnel-related matter, and I don't think any of us want to see anything like that. So I'm hopeful that with the wisdom that's impaneled here, the sooner and the more fully you are apprised of these details, perhaps we can make sure that we do the right thing. As I understand the last incident, The gentleman was prepared to accept a much lesser settlement, but the hard-headedness of the government at the time prevented that from happening, and went to trial, and he got a verdict. It was later reduced, but it was still substantially over $1 million. And we also have a situation, as I understand it, in the history of that department, where we had another case. It wasn't a personnel matter, but it had to do with a female prisoner, I believe, who was sued the city because she was made to disrobe or something like this. I don't know all the particulars. And there was another substantial judgment against the city. Now, obviously, the insurance company covers the bulk of this, but eventually it's going to raise our premiums over time. And finally, let me just suggest that, with all respect to my good friend, Mr. Mizzi, Mr. Cisco, we have a number of citizens in this community who don't understand how to work a computer, don't know what a disk is, don't know what the World Wide Web is. We are largely elderly population here. We're all getting elderly as we sit here. I'm getting older, the mayor's getting older, we're all getting older. But there's a lot of people a lot older than us that don't even know what a computer disk or a thumb drive or any of that stuff is. So we really need to get the broadcast cable program back on air. And thank you so much for having me speak.
Well, just through the chair, thank you, Mr. Hayes, and council. Yeah, this really is not the forum to address employment issues. I will say there's nothing going on which is criminal in nature. In fact, if any of the parties involved have spoken to you, Mr. Hayes, directly with an issue, I'd like to know that. But as far as I know, I'm not quite sure why they would do that. But this matter is being looked into, and we really need to respect the privacy rights of our employees.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Just wanted to make a comment that regardless of whether or not our cable is functioning, not all of the cable television, you're not going to reach every individual who resides in Allen Park. There are people who have cable where the cable company does not broadcast, for example, AT&T Uverse, or if you have DirecTV. These individuals don't get it. The only individuals in the city, to my understanding, are WOW and Comcast subscribers. Everyone else does not receive cable broadcasts. So what we've talked about are alternatives. The alternatives are what's available in the library. Personally, I do not want to be relegated to watching broadcasts on a TV at specific periods of time. I have found that the video broadcasts are much better picture, much better sound, and I can watch them whenever I so desire. There are also people I have found in Allen Park when I was walking the streets who don't have cable. So it's virtually impossible to reach everyone in the city. And those who truly want to find out what's going on, I'm hoping we'll find a way to do so, because the more people who know what's going on in this city, the better off we all will be.
Mayor?
Councilman DeCilio?
I'm just curious, Mayor, do you have any personal knowledge of what Mr. Hayes has brought up here?
I don't.
You have no knowledge at all?
Nothing.
Thank you.
Councilman Cisco?
Just in response about how people might not know what a thumb drive is or a disk, if you go to the Allen Park Library, they have a lot of great people working there that will, all you have to do is go to the counter and ask them, and they will help you. They will do it for you. So we have a great library system in Allen Park, and there are people there to help, and they do it every day. So if anybody's watching this on YouTube, they don't need to go to the library, right? So, but if you have friends or you have some older people that want to look, they can go to the library, and people will help them. That's what they're there for. They're there to help everybody that walks in that door. Thank you.
Walter Danick, Bel Air Avenue, Allen Park. Mr. Mayor, I've missed the past 3 meetings. I asked you 3 meetings ago about the festivities committee bringing back the scholarships for Allen Park students. I asked you if there was anybody that you could talk to. Your answer was, no, you did not know. Have you come up with an answer?
Have I come up with an answer as to what they're going to spend their money on from the last year's?
Yes.
They're holding that. I think they're holding it until we can, as a council, decide if we're going to put a new electronic sign for the city, that they would contribute a substantial portion of the money to that. And, so I think that's where the bulk of their money is going to go. They have made some smaller disbursements to other entities within the city.
Mayor?
But I think the bulk of their money is, they're looking at that.
Maybe I can help here a little bit.
Go ahead.
You know, festivity committee meets, and all those meetings are posted, and everybody is welcome to go to those meetings and ask. Yeah, as the committee meets, you have the right as a citizen to go in there and ask them if they're going to consider that, or would they consider it. You have that right. Everybody does.
Thank you. Through the chair, I would like to make a comment to Mr. Kibbe. Do I have permission?
Yes.
Mr. Kibbe, thank you, thank you, thank you for the light at the entrance to City Hall.
I gave the young lady a thumbs up when I walked in this morning.
It's there.
So finally,
Thank you very much.
I need the next list. What's our next project we have?
I'll let you know.
Hi, Marcy DiGiulio, Allen Road. I have the cable equipment was stolen? Is that what you said, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Because we were televising from here. Was it stolen from here or the other
The
building?
old building.
Did they move it back in there, or how did it get from here to there?
Through the chair, it never moved.
Okay,
Even when all the furniture and everything was gone, the unit was just placed on the floor. So, and
Oh,
again, it
wow,
had to do
okay.
with the fiber optic line
All right.
that isn't over
all right.
here, so.
And just to clarify too, when we're on, when we pay for cable TV through Comcast and WOW, those customers pay a fee for public access TV. So it's not like they're not already paying to see these things. But, all right, we don't have any equipment. On what, I want to ask what Mr. Hayes was talking about. You know, I'm not sure if it was a sexual harassment. I don't know what it was. It was a.
But I would
Yeah.
just caution
I have just a question, and please don't take up my 4 minutes, Mr. Covier. Ms. McLeod, did you know about this going on? Are you aware of it?
No.
You're on council. Mr. Rourke, were you?
Talk to the attorney, I'm guessing.
Oh, no, I'm asking if you
no.
personally knew.
No.
Tina, did you know?
Nope.
No, okay. Harry, did you know about it?
About what?
Larry, what's going on at the police department? There's a
I
problem.
mean, specifically about what?
Yeah, you know I'm not allowed to say, I'm not gonna get kicked out of
Well,
here,
then I
but nice
can't-
try,
I can't
Harry.
answer.
That was
If you can't give me
cute.
specifics, I
Nice
can't
try.
answer.
All right. Mr. Kivy, let me ask you, did you know about this?
This is a personnel matter. I cannot discuss it.
I don't want you to discuss the matter, I wanna know, did you know about it?
Personnel matter, and I cannot and I will not discuss it.
Okay, isn't it your job as being the administrator to, because all these
Personnel
council
matter that's still
people,
in progress.
okay, and let me ask you this.
Unfortunately, somebody else decided to blab out to the public on Facebook of some.
Dad, did you know about this?
Tell the
I,
truth.
well, I'm going to tell the truth.
Yeah,
because
he
I don't
will.
want to take a polygraph, you know? I don't want to take a polygraph again. I did, and the only person I related to is Mr. Covier.
Yeah, because you didn't tell me, because I got some stuff in my mailbox, and I'm kind of upset about it, but
But the only
I
person
want to say
told was
this
Mr.
with our
Covier.
police department. You know that we do not have an internal affairs department. Are you aware of that, Gail? Did you know that? That we do not have an internal affairs department in our police department? When something of this nature happens, either the mayor or the chief of police would call in the state police, and they act as our internal affairs department, because we've used them before. If you are, Mr. Kibbe, are you letting them police themselves on something like this? I'm I know both officers, and I like them both.
Look, excuse me,
It's
you know
a
what,
personnel matter.
excuse
But
me.
why wouldn't you tell the council and
Ma'am?
mayor about it?
Ma'am?
In progress. I'm not going
Ma'am?
to repeat.
You don't keep them apprised of what's going on in the city that they're potentially gonna have to vote on, that's gonna cost us money again?
It's a personnel matter that's still being investigated and being wrapped up.
Have you called in the state police to,
It's a personnel matter. I'm not going to go into detail.
all right, but when it goes bad, you're gonna be on the hot seat. I'm gonna come back up here and talk to you, Mark. All right, thank you, bye.
Yeah, okay.
Charles Blunt Champagne. Happy New Year. I haven't been here in quite some time. I'm glad to see that on the agenda it has the demolition building situation. Question for, I think, I don't have it on me right now, the $13,900, is that, who's paying for that? Is that the taxpayers paying for that, or is
Yeah, the way that
Or a
would work
grant.
is if it does go through, actually, that item would be coming up on the agenda here a little bit, and the property owner has contracted with his own contractor to do the demolition. If he fails to do that and the city ends up going through and fulfilling the court order that we received on the demolition, then we would then tear it down, pay the bill, and then place a lien on the property.
Okay. All right, and I'm glad to see everyone up here, and then I'm glad that there's more businesses coming in through Allen Park. If you haven't been to new ones downtown, please make sure you go and keep supporting Allen Park High School. And I see that they have a bottle drive. Make sure you support the seniors, because I know the senior all-night party, that's always a fun time for the last party thing until they go up to college. And I hope all the seniors behind me and all the future high schoolers come to the meetings still, like how I still go to, and keep being involved. And hope you all have a good day and think positive. Thank you.
No other citizens coming forward. We will go on to the consent agenda then at this time. Claims and accounts was removed. I'll take a motion for claims and accounts approval.
Motion, Mayor.
Moved by Councilman DiGiulio. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Councilman Cisco has seconded. The questions, Mr. DiGiulio?
Yeah, on page 1 here, under administration, it shows Michigan Municipal League, 2 payouts of $5,000. Can you tell me what they're about?
If I may, through the chair.
Yes.
The first one is for the first $5,000 is for a trip and fall on a sidewalk that we're being sued for. And the second one is also for a trip and fall over a person tripped on a curb. And they're also suing us for that. So that is for the defense of those claims.
Now, is this like a settlement? Because I know we have a $15,000 deductible. Is that correct, or is this different?
This is different. The deductible for claims like this is $5,000.
Okay, so we're just at the deductible portion. Okay, and then we go to page 2. Well, it starts on page 1. We have $2,000 in appraisals, and it gives the addresses of the homes. It's $250 per house. What is that about?
If I may, through the chair. The appraisals are being done. These houses were purchased through the tax foreclosed auction, not the process that we just used with Shadi Awad. This was a previous years, and the owner of those properties has protested their taxes and had taken that claim up to the tax tribunal. So this is to do an appraisal for the city's defense on those values.
So they're the new owners of these homes. They've already They're the occupants of these homes.
They're actually, I believe they're rental properties that he's appealing the taxes on.
Okay,
And so this will be able to give us a value for the neighborhood as opposed to what he wants, which is the purchase price that he made for them.
who pays this $250 per appraisal?
Unfortunately, that's part of the city's defense, so the city will pick that cost up.
Why is it we don't,
Just through the chair, just so
Oh, go ahead,
if I
Mr.
could
Mayor.
maybe clarify
Absolutely.
this. So this is this is litigation of sorts. The city is saying, look, your property's worth X amount of dollars. He's saying, no way, you're over assessing us. So our assessor needs a independent appraisal to defend the number which he is using. Does that make sense? It's like
yeah,
like
I
an
do understand,
expert
but
fee.
I don't understand why we don't make the homeowner do it, but I'm,
It's like litigation where you have to pay your experts.
okay,
That's,
that's the idea there.
yes.
And I'm glad we use an Allen Park firm. I think he's a very fine gentleman, and a very good appraiser, so I don't want to mention his name, but,
Can I ask a question about that before we go on,
sure.
if I might? So there's 8 appraisals here. That's all the same owner?
No. They're all different owners. They're different homes. Those were addresses.
It is a single owner. He owns all those
Oh,
properties.
he owns?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
just
he
So one
purchased them
person
all.
owns 8 houses?
Correct. Yeah, it was a company that actually purchased them.
Okay, so this is well, obviously they would turn it into a company, but, so one person owning 8 houses in Allen Park. Nice.
Yeah, those were picked up through the tax auction.
And they're all rentals.
As far as I know, they all are.
See, Councilman's smarter than me. Thank you. Thank you for clarity. Now I've learned something. Okay, let's go on down here. Let's go down the, where are we going to? We're gonna go somewhere, I guess, unless I run out of pages. No, that's okay. I'm glad you asked that question. I just figured they were all different addresses, so I didn't know. Okay, over here on page 10, it's got refundable taxes, and one is for $38,700, and one is for $19,700. Are these businesses, or what is that about? I mean, we're refunding that much money on taxes?
Yeah, this was also from a tax tribunal. This is for 4,000 Allen Road, which is the old Bell Telephone Building. It was sold, and through the tax tribunal, I believe the taxes had already been paid, so part of it went back to the previous owner, and the other check went to the new owner as a settlement for those overpayment of taxes.
And that was the $38,000 or $33,000?
Yeah, both of them are for the same property.
Oh, they're both for the same property? I knew you'd ask that one, Kerry, so I thought maybe, clarify it.
I was ready.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Councilman Cisco.
On page 3, under the fire department, we have building maintenance down towards the end, Metro Environmental. It says heating startup at fire station, $1,000, and building maintenance replace, whatever that might be, $1,300. Do we have any knowledge of that at all?
I'll have to go back. That looks like it's a building maintenance replacement of a DHW recirculating pump. I think that was on the boiler. They were having some problems with the boiler over there. They have some major issues over there with the boiler. It's pretty old. I think it was in
46, I
Yeah,
think.
it was very old. I know the one at the ice arena was 1971. So we've got some issues there. That is actually one of the grants we put in with the state, but if that grant's not funded, we're gonna need to look at that, to replace those units at that facility.
Thank you.
I can look into that one a little bit further for you, though.
Any other questions by council? Before I call a vote, I just, last Friday, I'm a member of the tax section of the State Bar, and I went to a luncheon in Lansing at my expense to listen to Stanley Lasher, who is the head of the tax tribunal that all these matters you heard here tonight or before. went specifically because I wanted to raise my objections to Mr. Lasher and the administrative judge's treatment of Allen Park particularly, but generally municipalities. I did have my Allen Park badge on rather than the lawyer badges that they gave us, which maybe I shouldn't have done, because when he got up, he said he's not going to discuss any of the cases that have been recently decided in Allen Park and the basis on which they were done. I did talk with him afterward, and particularly one case, he said, well, you probably should have had better lawyers, and I really resented that. I introduced him to our lawyer, who was standing right behind him, and he then walked out of the room, because he is one of the best tax lawyers in the state, and the case had gone back and forth. We'd won it 5 times previously, but we finally lost it at the Supreme Court most recently. But they've taken the position of some very bad appraisal, or some very bad assessing standards, which we call the dark store building. If your building is sitting up on that hill, and every one of our buildings on the hill are the best, those buildings, Meijer, Best Buy, Target, Barnes & Noble, TJ Maxx, they're the best performing stores in Michigan, and yet they're all getting tax reductions because the tax tribunal has been using a doctrine called the dark store, as if the buildings are empty. They're not empty. And they won't use general leasing standards. They won't use reproduction, less depreciation. They won't use any of the other 3. They've gone to this, which maybe is helping other areas of the state, but it's really it's really hurt communities that have had new commercial development. Because those reductions, if you can imagine a building with land that's built out at about $90 a foot, we have to tax it at $24 a foot. We would like to get the brownfield paid off sooner rather than later, so all of the entities that collect tax dollars there would go to them. We had to extend that brownfield in order to pay the Ford Motor Company and the bonds that were used to pay off Arcon. And it's a difficult situation. A number of our communities, we're all lobbying the legislature and that to see what we can remedy. Maybe too late for Allen Park, because there's not that many new buildings left that haven't gotten this treatment. But I know a lot of us, when we're approached on brownfields these days, are saying, we're not giving brownfields out to anybody unless there's an agreement that they don't come in immediately and ask for tax relief after we've already given them tax relief to begin with and giving them money back. It's been a serious issue, and the numbers are huge. And when you see the appraisals in that, the city's been put on notice by the tax tribunal that we've got to spend a lot more money, do a lot more preparation to overcome what, for some reason, seems to be a prejudice against the community's taxing of the various properties. I don't know what else to say about it. I was really distressed that there were 60 lawyers in the room, and the 8 sitting around me, we were all interested in this because we all happened to be either they were representing communities or they were officials in communities and had seen some of the same things. Not as big as losses as Allen Park has suffered up there. You don't see it in the tax dollars, but you see it that we're being delayed in getting out from under that brownfield. So with that, I'll ask for the vote on the claims and accounts. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Consent agenda is for the payroll report.
Motion.
Support.
Moved by Councilman Templin, supported by Councilman DeGiulio. It is to approve the payroll report and a bottle and can drive permit by the Allen Park Senior Class of 2016 for their all-night party, passing out flyers on February 1st, picking up bottles and cans on February 10th. And those are our two items. If there are no questions, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you. The city attorney said that because of certain circumstances, he would like us to table the resolution on the demolition of Superior Wrecking. And so I'd like a motion to table if I could, and just to state before that's on, they felt they were given so many days, I think, before we could demolish. And this was the best way to keep that pressure on and keep our money in our pocket. Mr. Cloutier?
That's correct, and I received from the building department a copy of a demolition permit. So I want to keep this on in front of our council in the event they do not come through with doing this. So that's why I'm asking that we table it and we not remove it from the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
And I'll support it if Mr. Kibbe wants that.
DeGiulio is seconded. Is there any discussion by council? Oh, it's a table, so
We don't
I'll
need-
have to ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
No. Aye, whatever it is.
Okay.
Same
One
sign.
nay, but the motion carries. Mr. Cisco is voted no. Other business. I'll take council comments at this point. No council comments?
I'll start. I'll just welcome the students back and large group and everyone else coming out tonight. Thank you.
I'll just-
Councilman DeGiulio.
I know this is the last time these students will be attending our council meeting, and I just want to say if these students don't go to college and become a lawyer, become a barber. You'll meet a lawyer and he'll fight your lawsuits for free. Just ask me. Okay, good night, everybody.
Mayor Pro Tem McLeod?
Just want to encourage everyone to continue to go out and support your Allen Park businesses. I know there's been some reference, the Glass Onion just opened up downtown. I'd give that a try. We all know we've got a lot of nice restaurants in the community and lots of days in the week to do that. Thank all the students for being here tonight and hope you all have a good evening.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
You want me to speak? I'll speak.
No, I thought you shook your head no, and I was going to just,
Harry shook his head no.
Can't pass up an opportunity to speak.
Councilman
You know,
Cisco.
I kind of wanted to touch on something that is sort of related to Allen Park, but not as far as our state government is concerned, and the crisis that we have in Flint. And, you know, I find it interesting that there's been a reason given to save money in Flint. I think it was $1.2 million per month that they switched over to their other water system. But there's been some new news that's coming out in 2012, the Detroit Water Department had made a number of offers to Flint to reduce by 50% the cost of their water. Of course, I don't know if that's come out yet or not, but so what is the real motivation then, if it was saving money? So, you know, and all you young people here, you know, there's some dastardly things going on in our state. And just recently, it looked like our former city attorney, Todd Flood, was appointed to the Attorney General's group to oversee what's going on. Now, I find it interesting that, and of course, we know Todd Flood. Todd Flood's a good man, and he's an Allen Park guy. That's right. He's a good Allen Park guy. He's a good man, good, honest man, I believe. And I say that because I do know him. But I also like to say that Todd Flood, nothing against our present attorneys, was removed by our emergency manager, who was Joyce Parker, and then brought in the Pentuck Bouvier group. So I just find it interesting that everything's kind of all intertwined. We have suffered here some financial mismanagement by the emergency manager and subsequent appointment of a city administrator. And I just want everybody to remember that we were told that we couldn't remove that city administrator that was costing us hundreds of thousands of dollars, that at some point in time will come out, and you're all going to see that when it's all said and done. And then we were threatened that if we continued on with our path of trying to remove that city administrator, that they would put another emergency manager in Allen Park. And I believe the mayor was in on that meeting along with former Mayor Pro Tem Bob Keenan. So the state does what it wants to do. So we are still, and I'm really disappointed that the Art Tab has canceled another meeting while our administrators have to work their butts off to get them information in time so they can have these meetings. And these guys are under it. They're sending stuff to the state that is a tremendous amount of work that they could be working on things in Allen Park. So we are still being occupied by the state. And hopefully that's going to end soon. And I think everybody should write a letter to someone, maybe the governor, maybe the attorney general. And you should all be involved, because this goes to the heart of being elected officials and having no power, just like Flint. And they want to sugarcoat it and said, well, the Flint Council, voted on it. That's a bunch of baloney, too. That's just a rubber stamp. That's nothing. So, 9 people have died from Legionnaire's disease that they are now connecting to the water. 9 people. And all those, I think they've tagged, through records, maybe 6,000 children under a certain age that have been contaminated with lead. And I think we all should be horrified about that, all of it. Should have never happened. For the sake of money. Because the state of Michigan is more concerned about money than people. And that's the only way you can take it. And that goes to all of you, because we're all connected. That's all I have to say.
Any other council? Okay. I want to thank everyone coming out. I want to thank all the citizens, and hope everyone has a good night. And I'll take a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion.
Councilman Cisco has moved. Councilman DeGiulio has seconded. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned with the official clock of 7 o'clock.
Nice meeting you. Very nice, man.